visual.
Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, our Monday Money Talks edition. And as always, we have Taylor and Jeff. I'll just do some quick introductions here. But Taylor is an estate law attorney in McKinney, Texas. And so obviously he specializes in wills, trusts, small business formation, things like that, ways to protect your wealth. Jeff is a financial, I always get this wrong. It's a financial advisor?
I'm a certified financial planner.
Certified financial planner.
And then WG Plan is what's called an RIA, which means we're a registered investment advisor, which puts us at the fiduciary level, the same way a doctor and attorney is as far as legal standard of care.
Nice. So these are individuals that don't have to do the disclaimer that, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, or I can't give legal advice. These two gentlemen actually can. So, we're trying.
Wait. We have to do the disclaimer. We're not doing it for you because you haven't engaged us. But yes, we are licensed to give this kind of advice. This is not that technically. But hey, call us.
All right. So if you're not following us on YouTube, this is our channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. Again, we have Monday is our Money Talks edition. We have the DeFi Academy on Wednesdays. We have two gentlemen that are very, very knowledgeable about DeFi and advanced strategies and how to earn in DeFi. Both David and Jake Call. They're the founder of Metrics Finance. Two great resources that donate their time to try to educate the community. And then of course we actually landed a epic interview. Canton Network, the COO and co-founder, Shal Kafir, and I apologize if I slaughtered that pronunciation, but myself and Drew over at Blockchain Basement Crypto are going to be interviewing him on the 20th of January. So if you have any questions when it comes to Canton Network and what they're building, if you'd like to get us your questions, I'll see about including them in the show. Myself and Taylor started DeFi Wise. It's a newsletter that we send out for about $20 a month. It is covers traditional finance, trading ranges, DeFi, liquidity pool ranges, kind of the hot news, what's going on macro, in the markets. A quick 5 to 10 minute read delivered every morning before the markets open, Monday through Friday. And it's just a quick way of getting your finger on the pulse of what's going on with your investments without having to spend a bunch of time pouring through, social media and the news yourself. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and come on over, subscribe to that. If you're in Texas and looking for somebody to do your will or trust, WG Law in McKinney, Texas, again, is Taylor's law firm. They have over 350 five-star Google reviews. I know he takes a lot of pride in his work and making sure that people are squared away when it comes to their estate and estate planning. Just like Jeff mentioned, WG Plan. This is Taylor and Jeff's website when it comes to financial advising and also how to bring together all of their offerings. The wills and trusts, small business, traditional investing, and then also Jeff. And I know Taylor's already into DeFi and crypto, but Jeff is becoming more and more knowledgeable about it. And I'm sure they're looking for ways to integrate that into their offerings as well. So real quick, I want to frame the conversation. I'm sorry, I was going to frame the conversation real quick, but did you have something to say before we do that?
No, no, I was just I was assenting to everything you just said.
Perfect.
So yeah,
Perfect.
good.
All right. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to kind of frame our conversation, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, gentlemen, and let you just kind of run with it. So over the holiday weekend, we heard about massive fraud in Minnesota with groups of Somalis that were imported back during the Biden administration that led to Ilhan Omar, who got elected, for that area. There is massive, massive amounts of fraud going on up there, and the FBI director has surged a bunch of agents up there to get to the bottom. I find it hard to believe personally that this was under the radar. I mean, this is just too big. But moving on, this is the gentleman, Nick Shirley, is an independent young man that went out there and got to the bottom of this. So applause and hats off for being able to move this out. So I'm really hoping to see something. Kevin Malone, CME management team, sends out a letter.
Are you having a hard time hearing Michael, Jeff?
Yeah, I can't hear him. It's very garbled.
You can't hear me?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
Sorry about that. I appreciate that. CME risk management team sends out a letter announcing significant margin maintenance increases for almost all precious metals products after market close tomorrow. $26 billion from the Fed to the banks this morning. This is rumors of a U.S. based bank bailout. I'll definitely want to get Jeff's input on that. Silver down 10% in minutes. Now we know why. That violent 10% candle wasn't retail selling. It was a forced liquidation event. And the 8 banks trapped in the silver squeeze and gold are JP Morgan Chase, HSBC Holdings, Scotia Bank, BNP Paribas, UBS Group, Deutsche Bank, Citigroup, and Goldman Sachs. And then what I feel is behind the pump on silver, and Taylor last week brought this to my attention, is that Samsung has been working since 2024. They announced this on a new battery tech that allows for fast charging, roughly 9 minutes of an EV, and gives it a much, much larger range, as well as giving the battery a 20-year life. So this could totally change battery technology. The hitch to it is it takes massive amounts of silver. So let me kick it to you, Taylor. That's kind of I'm done framing the conversation.
Yeah,
what is it that you found?
So I mean, it's pretty clear. Just so people understand, like the silver market for the last 40 years has really been suppressed and controlled. But about 5 years ago, the miners have not been able to keep up and produce enough silver, and so we've had a deficit for 4 straight years on the books. This will be the 5th straight year, and the problem with that is we're coming into a time period where electronics are becoming the key of the future, which is going, of course, AI development, robotics, battery operated thing. Because at the end of the day, if we're gonna have all these robots running around, they can't be running off of gas. That's just not gonna work. So but really, with this new breakthrough of Samsung, how much silver is needed? There's not enough silver that we have taken out of the earth right now for the next, I think they said next 5 to 10 years of just the batteries that would be produced under this new technology. And so there's a huge problem in the sense of, well, we're not getting enough out for current demand. And then on top of that, the banking industry has been artificially manipulating the price of silver for a long time. And over the Christmas holiday, it all broke that there was an emergency meeting held, basically in an attempt to bring down the cost. Because currently, just so you know, the derivative positions of Q3 of 2025, the derivative positions just in gold and silver and precious metals is JP Morgan has 437 billion in derivatives. Citibank has 204 billion in derivatives. Bank of America has 48 billion in derivatives, and Goldman Sachs has a little bit under $1 billion in derivatives out there on these precious metals. Most of it means that they're selling. People were buying call options because they were seeing this, and these institutions were selling them. That means that they have to cover all these positions, and most of them, I think it's January 16th they come due, and the battle price is $75 an ounce. If it goes over that, they have significant losses, and they are violently trying to bring down the price below that so they don't really run into a significant problem. So, like you said this morning, there was a big attempt to crash the price. Problem they're going to have is you can crash it all day long in America, but if Shanghai keeps demanding more of it, you're going to have a price spread between Shanghai and the US, and big institutions are just going to keep buying a bunch of silver if Shanghai is willing to pay more and just sell it to them.
Well, didn't China ban export of silver recently, and also bought up a bunch of the shorts, or a bunch of the silver that was kind of dumped recently?
Yeah, because so China's had to ban all the short because they need it for all their production too. So right now you're going to see a lot of manipulation. Like today, there's they're saying because of what the new margin requirements that a bunch of delevering was happening. So that's why the price crashed again down today. But really, it's a battle to keep under $75 an ounce. That's the banking industry is doing whatever they can to get past that spot date. And how this is not market manipulation at its finest. Of course, the banks can always get rid of it. This is a prime example of how it's manipulated against you.
I mean, it certainly is manipulated, but also on the 11th. So I think there's a lot of rumors going around, and I think there's some really big things have happened. Obviously, the 10% correction happened. Obviously, the 34 billion out of nowhere from the Fed overnight happened. So there's things happening, but like I think what ends up happening, or we can jump to conclusions on, is who is affected, right? So, for example, I'm seeing now. Again, I don't know. I'm going the same thing everybody else is doing. Right? I'm going to X and Twitter and other places because it's faster than any other medium I know to get stuff. But I found several different places that talked about the JP Morgan, and they filed an SEC disclosure for this. They on the 11th supposedly sold their entire 200 million ounce short position and went long 750 million ounces.
Yep.
They are probably in for the ride a little bit. So I just want to point out that these gigantic, like when you talk about these derivatives that are out there, that's both long and short. Now there obviously is a net exposure in some direction, and people can get absolutely tattooed, or institutions get tattooed. But the thing I think is interesting, I want to have you guys comment on, is I'm sure you've seen this. It's all over social media the last couple of hours or last couple of days, is about the gold to silver ratio. So like historically, the gold to silver ratio is around 60 to 1, right? So 60, if gold's $60 an ounce and silver is $1 an ounce. And when you look at that, if that ratio, now obviously it fluctuates, but if that ratio were to hold, either gold's got to go up a whole lot. First of all, silver's got to go up a whole lot more to match the price of gold, or gold's got to come down, is what I was trying to say. So I think given where we are from a fiscal standpoint and a monetary standpoint, I don't think gold's going to come down significantly right now. So no, it's very reasonable to assume that there's a lot more room to run on silver, both from a historical valuation perspective, and then separately, or in addition
Decades of
to
price suppression.
the technological advances that are requiring silver that we are shifting towards so rapidly that Taylor pointed out.
Yeah, the key here is to understand is like gold isn't needed in this technology. Gold is really just historically what people value as, hey, this is valuable because we as humans, agree it's valuable. Silver, if capitalism really works, it's like, here's the deal. We need a lot more silver. And when there's a bunch of demand and little supply, you jack up the price until there's enough money in silver to encourage more development and getting more silver out of the ground. I mean, it's simple. Like it will go to a price where the miners get enough money to start mining a lot more.
Yeah. And it's honestly, I don't know if it was a book. I think it was called The Commodity Wars, but there's a lot of speculation that the next 50 years, again, my caveat, shoot, I don't know why I'm blurry now.
You're an anonymous guest.
I may have like hit a button or something. I don't know. But anyway, look at my blurry face while I talk for a second. I'll figure it out in a second. I think the next 30 to 50 years, commodities are going to be, probably the flashpoint from a geopolitical standpoint, wars, economies, because the reality is we are growing at an exponential rate, a lifestyle that requires these rare earth elements and these minerals, and the demand and the technology is growing at orders of magnitude faster than the industries have been able to produce in recent years, which I think is what you're talking about, Taylor, saying, hey, the price has got to get to a point that the opportunity is too good for people to ignore. And all of a sudden you get a bunch of resources poured into the infrastructure of getting silver, of getting platinum, of getting nuclear material. I mean, anything that's an element-based thing is not, it's not like you're going to go on Amazon and click, and next thing you know, you got some more silver out of the ground.
Yeah, like one thing to look at, like buying are, like if you look at the stocks of silver miners.
Look at the comment. Give them the Narcos deep voice augmentation too.
Here's the thing is if you look at silver miners, I mean, their stocks are really low compared to what the price is at now. I think it's because everybody's waiting to see if the prices come back down, but I don't think people really understand, like, hey, this is a good opportunity to look at, if you don't want to buy silver right now, buy silver miners.
That actually is a great point, because back during the gold rush, everybody talks about picks and shovels. Most of the people that got rich during the gold rush weren't people that were pulling the gold out of the ground. It was the people that were providing services and equipment to the people that were doing that. So, that's a great, kind of way, if you missed the silver pump, potentially, if you can, buy stocks in silver mines that historically they've had to kind of throttle, having the mines being active and deactivating the mines based off of very slim profit margins. Yeah. So a lot of the silver mines have been closed for a long time, but, you can see the historical chart here to where, silver was, I remember as a kid, I think it was like $5 an ounce is when I started stacking silver as a kid and buying like Morgan silver dollars and, things like that. And, I have an extensive coin collection. But just over the years, I've just always, if I had an extra $100, $200, I would buy, a couple ounces of silver, some rounds, some stackers, and just throw it in the safe. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of these gold and silver, not gold mines, but gold mines too, but silver mines had shut down because the price of silver was so low. It wasn't profitable to be open. So these mines are going to start opening now. So that's a great point. It took a minute for me to get there, but that's a great point, Taylor, that, investing in mining operations might be a good play.
Yeah, the big one that's right, the largest one in the country that's right across that.
Hey, don't dox my location.
The ticker for that is AG. If you want to, the U.S. largest miner, and it's up 100% this year. But their profits right now, to be profitable, I think they said they need silver to be at $20 an ounce.
Yeah.
And so they're printing money right now. And if this silver demand is actually going to hold up, which of course it is, because unless we're just going to stop building electronics, which
not going to happen.
I don't think that's the future right now. But then you're looking at, they say right now what silver should be at is about 150 an ounce.
Well, this is what I found interesting. Just with this battery tech, just kind of to get back to that, is it looks like they did this a while back, and they put one of these batteries, test batteries, in, and they drove 749 miles in July of 2025. And, that was, in alpine roads, highways, secondary roads, they mixed it up. That wasn't just a test track, flat test track. Let's see.
That's double of what my Tesla can do right now.
Exactly. And, not to mention that it can charge between 9 and 16 minutes. So, that is a massive, massive boost. And that's fully charged. That's just not like a boost, a quick boost to get you home. But that's 831 horsepower, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.2 seconds. This is going to potentially change the pretty much the one negative thing that I always saw about buying an EV was just how long it took to charge. For me, it was mostly for like commuting and, kind of in-town driving, not long road trips. But this could change that. You're one of the few people I know that actually owns a Tesla. What are your thoughts on this?
The biggest holdback for me for like not just having all electric vehicles, because in my opinion, it's way superior in every aspect. I prefer to drive my Tesla than any other vehicle I've ever had. I always drove a truck until I drove a Tesla, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much better. But like the biggest hang up has always been, so when I want to go out to Grandpa's, it's a 200-mile drive, and so I have to charge at least once to get there and back. And now it's basically saying, well, hey, we will be able to charge your vehicle, just as fast as filling up gas, but you can go twice as far. Mm-hmm. Then basically I would be able to go about 200 miles longer than my gas vehicles.
Yeah.
Fully charged battery. And
not to mention the battery supposedly lasts 20 years. Whereas I'm wanting to say the current ones, you would know, how long do the current ones last?
10 to 15.
They're warranted under law for 8.
Yeah, they really project them 10 to 15.
So, yeah. So, the batteries last longer. The electric parts in an electric car, because, brushless motors and, things like that, they last longer. This really could, change, adoption of EVs. Because, that has always been the complaint that I've heard from people is just the charge time and the range.
They call it range anxiety, right? So it's a see if I can do this, but it's something that I think all you have to do is get to the point where people believe wherever I go, somewhere reasonably will be a place that can charge it that actually works. Takes 15 minutes or less because that's enough time for me to get a Coke and pee. And quite frankly, will go longer than I want to drive.
Or a shake.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Maybe a shake, burger, maybe filet mignon. My point simply is
the
that
30-minute charge handles that for me.
My in-laws, one set of in-laws, live in Northwest Arkansas, right? That's like 5.5 hours away. I'm not going there. I don't have an EV, but if I had an EV, I'm not doing that, right? Because I'm going to have to stop realistically once, because if I don't, I'm going to be coasted in on electric fumes, right? Whatever
Well,
that would be.
and
right?
not to
Last
mention
night,
you're going to get laughed at by all the country folk out there.
well, there's that too, right? But if it had a 10-hour range, which is what probably realistically with stops and traffic, 600 to 700 miles,
Mhm.
man, I'm not driving 10 hours straight. Not at 50. I got to pee. So like, I do think there's going to be a pretty big shift if they can solve this problem. Now, what's interesting though is this year, like EV, if you guys want an EV, like I'd wait till like, I don't know, second quarter, because demand has fallen off a cliff since the One Big Beautiful Bill got rid of the tax incentives.
Yeah. No, my brother, my brother was up here from California, Jason. Jeff, the other Jeff from the show, he came up to a couple weekends ago, and he owns a couple Chevy dealerships down in, or a partner in a couple Chevy dealerships down there. And he was telling me about that with the incentives that they were getting, from the government and stuff like that, after those went away, the EV popularity just tanked, because a lot of people were being incentivized to buy those EVs. And for a while in California, they were even allowing them to use the carpool lane, even if you were by yourself, to try to incentivize people. And they did away with a lot of that because so many people bought them. So yeah, no, it's been interesting to watch that.
It's I'm trying not to regret it, because I did think about, like, they had a deal where you could still get the $7,500 credit if you leased, and leasing as a business owner is very attractive because you can write off most of the lease. And there was I just couldn't pull the trigger fast enough without making my wife want to shoot me. But there was I think like the Hyundai Ioniq 5 or 6, whatever it was. Dude, they had a lease that was like $200 a month. And I'm like, well, good Lord, I spend that in gas. It basically a free car for 3 years. But I wasn't, I probably made a mistake there. But at the same rate, I didn't want to have to freaking deal with a charger. I didn't want to have to install something in my house. So I do think it'll make a change once they solve this problem.
Yeah. Well, so let's get back to, well, actually, where do you guys want to get back to? Do we want to, kind of expound a bit on the potentially what bank got bailed out? Do you want to talk?
I
have no idea personally.
Yeah,
maybe you guys do.
Well, I mean, this is one thing that, so one, it's speculation because there's no actual verified claim that this has happened. That's usually, if it's true, that's more scary than anything, because that means they're hiding the information and they don't want it reported. Or it could just be that, there was just a missed margin call or a margin requirement. And, now the bank has that fixed. And so that's really not. So that's kind of where I would put it as, it probably is someone just got bailed out, but, they're not struggling. They're going to be able to pull it out, and they're just going to have to face a bunch of losses. This isn't like a situation like with Lehman Brothers, where it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many losses so much loss out there that they're in a really bad position. But silver doesn't move 10% up and down in days like this unless something big is going behind the scenes. Silver moves 1 or 2% a day. If you look at that chart down there, look at the past, how it moves. Like go back like a year. Go down to the bottom there, click the year. See how, silver slight, and then all of a sudden we have this jump up, down. That is not normal. That something's going on behind the scenes that we're not allowed to know.
Well, it went from almost $83 in one day on the 28th, when nobody's paying attention. It went from there all the way down to $75. So yeah, so like almost a $10 freaking dump in a day for silver. Went back up and then dumped back down again. to where it looks like they're like Taylor was talking about earlier, that $75 dollar freaking level. That if it's above that, what was it you were saying, like JP Morgan or something like that, loses massive amounts of money for every dollar. Right? What's that?
Yeah, 75 is the battle number. If it goes over that, then they're losing billions every dollar over. All those financial institutions.
But look at it, like right here, $75. Right here, $75. Went up, they crashed it back down to that $75 range. Now they're trying to keep it. You can see that it flipped from support to resistance, and now they're somebody's trying to slam it down here, and trying to get that price down again.
Yeah, here's the problem with it going down right now. So in America, we're saying silver should be $71 an ounce, but right now you can sell silver for $78 an ounce in China.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are a big, large financial institution, why not buy billions of dollars worth of silver at 70, what is it, 70, 99 or $71, and just run to China and sell it for 78?
Yeah, no, it's
pure profit. Like, so those numbers have to come together.
Well, there's what's called a premium on precious metals. So right when I got out of the military, back in 2015, I had a buddy that I used to buy my silver from and my coins. And he owned a precious metals and coin shop and was having some issues with operations and, marketing and stuff. And so I went and worked with him for a while and learned, a little bit on how to grade coins and learned about the precious metals market. And one thing I learned is about the premium. So, anytime you buy or sell, there's a difference between spot price and what they buy and sell it for. That's the premium. And when demand goes up and supply goes down, and and you can't find physical, physical gold and silver to sell, then the premium gets higher. So one thing that I've always told people is if you don't want to necessarily, pay the premium, or when you sell it, if you want to mitigate that premium, you can go on places like eBay and things like that and just sell to retail.
Yeah.
Because if you go into a coin shop, they're a business. They have lights to keep on and employees to pay and things like that. So especially in volatile markets, they don't necessarily want to buy at, they will, but they don't necessarily want to buy when it's peaking out at $82, $85. And because, then when it takes these pullbacks, they've instantly lost money.
Yeah.
Of course, they can hold on to it and, realize, some of those losses, or not realize some of those losses, but, erase some of those losses over time. Because like Taylor said, you look at the price of silver, over time, yeah, it's had surges and pullbacks, but overall it's always going up. So anyway, that's just something I thought was very interesting. That short time I was doing that, it's just learning how these markets work.
Well, but the premiums on billions of dollars of silver isn't that much. Because if you're coming in with $1 billion, $1 billion of silver, you can just go to the miners, say, sell me, I'll buy $3 billion worth of silver, and then ship it off to China and sell it. So that's why you see a lot of these countries also saying you can't take the silver out of the country, is they're trying to control that. They're trying to stop it. But Shanghai's price and the US price, either Shanghai has to come down or the COMEX has to come up. So which one is it? Which one's being manipulated more? You don't see China playing these games because China's banks have sold the derivatives on these where they're going to lose money. So I would suspect that you will see that the US price has to go back up in the short term.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey Jeff, you can turn on your camera just because it's blurry, whatever.
Well, it's anti-blurry now. I can't get it to blur. I don't know what's going on.
Whatever. But so I don't know. That's kind of always been my position. And Taylor, I mean, you know this. I've been freaking not a doomsday prepper, but I've been had that mindset from way back when I had that Prep to Survive website, that emergency preparedness website, where I'm always buying beans, bullets, gold, silver, and crypto, just because, and real estate.
Dude, you missed it. You should have caught it beans, bullets, and bullion. It would have worked beautifully.
The triple B.
Bullion. There you go.
No, but I mean, if you invest in those items, you're covered no matter what happens. If there's food shortages, you have food. You have bullets to protect yourself. Honestly, in places like where I live, ammo is a currency. You can actually pay people with bullets, just because there's that much utility for them. For hunting, protecting yourself, sport, shooting, whatever. I mean, hell, I've probably made more money, unrealized profits, but buying ammo, like 5.56 rounds were like 14 cents, 12 cents a piece. Now they're like 50 cents or more a piece. So, my silver on average, I've probably spent, I'd say like $10 an ounce. I've made way more money in bullets and silver than I have in crypto so far, as far as profits. So, that just goes to show you. It's like, potentially long term, I'm sure I'm going to make some really good money in crypto. But when you're diversified like that in multiple things, everything seems like it takes its turn. Stocks and precious metals pump. In the past, crypto outperformed them for a while. It's all about kind of dollar cost averaging in and being able to sit on your hands and not get overly emotional in dips or in pumps, and making sure that you're taking profits and, just, kind of buying back in when things dip and reassessing your positions, making sure that there's the thesis or the basis of why you're investing in those things are still solid. I mean, that's what I've done. And I'm by far not, a super investor or anything like that, but I've done okay, with my modest means.
Yep.
But I was going to point out, they were asking in the chat recommendations for where to buy, which I unfortunately don't know. If I were buying silver, I'd be too lazy. I would just buy SLV. But
we got an expert sitting right here on where to buy silver. Go, Michael.
What's that?
You bought silver for years, so
Oh yeah, no, I bought it for 40 plus years now. I usually go to Scottsdale Mint. We're not affiliated with them in any way whatsoever. That's where I've always bought mine and found the lowest premiums. And it seems like they always have, the gold and silver I'm looking for. Not JP, JM Bullion is another reputable place that's really good. So, I mean, those are the two that I would personally go to. There's others, but those two are very reputable, and they'll actually ship it to your home and insure it. So if it doesn't show up, you're guaranteed to, get your silver or get your money. So those are the two I would personally go with.
Man, I'm okay if a porch pirate takes some random Amazon package, but if they took my silver, I'd be pissed.
Oh, damn. Yeah, Drew's in the chat. He was just pointing out on the arena. We got, looks like about 50 people watching in the arena.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we got over 200 people watching across all the platforms. So it looks like people are curious what's going on with banking, silver, and kind of the corruption that's going on. Because I'll tell you, I'm about sick of it when it comes to corruption. I mean, you have the USAID scandal, where all the money that for the climate initiatives, me and Drew actually did a episode on this like a year or two ago, where all of that was being funneled to NGOs that were basically importing illegals. David, that's on the Wednesday show, he used to work in California helping addicts in that sort of thing, most of which were illegal aliens. And he laid out for me this past week how they were getting them driver's licenses, like the stages, that they would get them driver's licenses and social security numbers and things like that so that they could vote in elections. And this is all public record. You can go out and look all this up for yourself. A lot of the money that was going through USAID ended up with BLM and Antifa groups that were, funding people that were, that summer of love. You have Minnesota with all the money that's being misappropriated there. In California, the light rail that is billions and billions of dollars have been funneled into that. Nobody knows where it went. The Pentagon has failed 8 straight audits.
Nine
now.
I don't know why I did this for 9, but 9.
Gavin Newsom, he has spent billions on the homeless issue in California, and it's only gotten worse. Where is all this money going? This is all your tax dollars. If you're not infuriated, I don't care what your political party is. If you're not infuriated with the gross fraud, waste, and abuse and negligence in state and federal government, you have no right to be on any social media crying and screaming about anything because, or trying to make it one party or the other. I mean, this is insane to me. That
I do agree that it's not one part or the other, but I do think you also have to hold it. I mean, whoever's in charge at the time, right? Well, obviously this Minnesota thing, that's been going on for years. And so you gotta hold, but like just in the last month, the Trump administration's pardoned 2 different fraudsters. Well, one was the Silk Road guy. I guess that was like in the last 6 months or whatever. But like, I saw this morning, I posted on Twitter. It's I think it's like a televangelist couple, but they took like $39 million in and just completely fraudulent. And they just get to get out of jail. There's another guy that let me see if I can find that did he withheld for like 20 years payroll taxes from his employees, but didn't send it to the IRS. He gets pardoned. Like, all of us could go rob a 7-Eleven right now for $500 and we go to big boy jail.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Here's the real sign of the time. Like when a society only works when everybody agrees to follow certain rules. The problem in America that has happened is we're turning into like the banana republics of everywhere else, where if you're just a regular Joe and you go commit a crime, you're getting hit and you're going to jail.
Yeah.
But if you are a big boy that's doing massive crime on a big scale where people are making a bunch of money, you're getting out somehow. You're
getting a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, unless the big boys are also financially getting hurt from you, then that's what. Well, the problem's going to happen is everybody sees it happening. I see it in my practice all the time. I get to see people's financial stuff. Jeff does too. And a lot of my clients are, not being honest with their taxes. And that is a sign of how a society falls apart, is when everybody, certain people are being held to the rules and other people are not. Well, eventually everybody just goes, screw it. I'm not going to follow the rules. And then you have lawlessness. And so that's kind of the problem that we have right now in America is everybody sees the fraud going on. They see the people highest in power are committing crimes, and they're getting away with it. And so they think, well, they can do it. Why can't I do it?
Well, we still haven't heard anything about the Epstein files. I mean, you have elite pedophiles that aren't getting investigated or arrested. You have all these people, you have banks that are getting bailed out that, basically steal people's money. And, and then they take risky, plays with our money, end up pretty much losing it. And then they get a bunch of free tax money to bail them out.
Yes. And so.
Oh, this reminds me, I think I can explain this all in like a 7-second get. How do I share? Will it play a video if I share my screen?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. How do I do this? Because this is not the same one as before.
Every time it's
this is not the other one we used to use. This is now
same place, bottom middle of the screen.
All right, bottom middle of the screen.
It's a little screen with a plus mark.
It says present.
All right.
Come on,
I just want to share screen. Okay. All right, let's see. And I want to do this. Is funny, dude. So this says, can you see this? It says members of Congress pretending to do something. Look at this guy. He's stopping the train. Let me. I'm going to open this door for you. Wait for it. And then he's going to go and get it on its way.
Glad he was
That's
there.
our U.S. Congress, folks. That's what they do.
Glad he was there.
Working real hard for you. All right, I just wanted to share that.
But
it's just ridiculous.
But that's the thing is like now we have these problems in silver, mainly because financial institutions aren't following the rules that they're supposed to. They're supposed to maintain a certain amount of silver in their vaults in order to do all these derivatives that they're doing. They're not doing it. And so instead of the Fed, and the government going after the banks for it, they just lower the requirements that they have to have. And then we have these blowups. And then when these blowups happen, the bailouts come. Because that's the system that we've created is we hold nobody at the top responsible anymore for their bad behavior. And a society can't exist like this. You can't have a society where the poor, the people who are struggling, have to constantly bail out the wealthy because they want to make bigger profits.
So apparently, some things I'm looking at right now about J.P. Morgan. So they got investigated by the CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, for basically faking prices for silver after 6 years.
Yeah,
huge.
These two people went to jail for 2 years or whatever, and the fine was $50,000. But we're talking manipulating prices that affect worldwide markets worth billions, and it's just the lesson is if you're going to be an asshole, be a financial one, right?
Yeah. And have enough money to get away with it.
So it's just we have a situation in the local area with a title company that basically what a certain individual was doing is she was taking money at closings. This is not my tile. It's another tile company. It's a big tile company.
Definitely want to put that in there.
Yeah, I want people to understand it's not us, but we know about it. We know she got reported what she was doing. But basically, that title company swapped, came in. Now they got everybody whole, but this lady got off because they didn't want it in the news that she had stolen hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it's anybody else would have done that, you'd be in jail.
Yeah.
And so it was to protect this financial institution, and they had the money to do it. And so this person got away with it. But it's that kind of stuff where it's if this continues to go on for very much longer, and the problem is the people we put in power. I mean, that's currently right now, we don't have the most honest people up there in Washington. I mean, there are some really good people, even in Congress.
There's just too few of them,
and they have no power. And the only way that you're going to really reclaim everything, unfortunately, is we have to get out of this Democrat-Republican voting system. You got to vote a third party in.
Honestly, we're in a perfect storm between corruption in government, between everything that we've talked about with institutions and banks and all that being too big to fail. We've lost election integrity. Our education system is trash. People are buried in debt. The dollar's getting inflated to where the buying power of the dollar is in the toilet. People are just struggling to get by. I mean, we really are in this perfect storm of if something doesn't give, something's going to give. And I hope it's not what I think it is, but and I don't want to sound like a doomsdayer, but it's how much worse can some of this stuff get? Because people have, across all parties, across all, all of society, it doesn't matter. They've lost trust, and without trust, the system breaks.
It's the fourth turning, Michael. It happens every 80 to 100 years.
Yeah,
It really is.
And when the natural process has to take care of itself, which is this will go on until corruption is met, till the people decide they're fed up with it. And that's the real reality, is the power is held with the masses. And when the masses finally decide, you know what, I'm done with this, and they're willing to put the time and effort in to put honest people back in charge that will hold people responsible, and face the pain that needs to come, then things will start fixing itself.
Honestly, the only way the government can be fixed, in my opinion, is everyone that's currently there, including all of the assistants and the lobbyists and all that stuff, need to be out. New people need to come in. There needs to be term limits. There needs to be, strict laws about, no lobbyists, no special interest groups. If anybody is caught taking any money whatsoever from any group or individual, then they're a lifetime ban from holding public office. Campaign reform. Every person that runs for office should get the same amount of money. And again, if they're caught taking any money from anybody other than from that, war chest, lifetime ban. And I mean, that's really the only way that this is going to get fixed. The cancer is just too deep, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that we need to, just as a caveat to that, is something I think that politicians do a lot, and quite frankly, financial advisors do. Like we live in such a complex, multipolar, melting pot, culturally, economically, racially, like there's all these different things, that the lazy way out is to look at it, forget about the 30,000 foot level or the 100,000 foot level. We're looking at things at like the million foot level. Like we're looking at things from like the stratosphere, and we're making these very broad things. And so when they're talking about the economy's growing or whatever, I just read at the end of November an analysis by Moody Analytics that says the top 10% of earners, right, are responsible for 50% of the spending. So said another way is so 9 out of 10 people are splitting half the pie, and 1 out of 10 people are eating the other half the pie. But if you say, well, the pie is growing, right, but it's barely growing when you divide it by 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if
then factor in inflation.
Right. So it's like, oh, okay, well, great. You got a 5% raise, and I got a 5% raise, but my 5% raise spent on steak that I'm going to divide across 9 mouths, and yours spent on steak you're dividing across 1. That's a very different experience. But if you lump everybody together, you can paper over a lot of problems. And I was looking at this data, and this just blew me away. All right, so literally the top 10%,
you can share it if you want.
Okay, check this out. There's one error in the chart, but I'll share it real quick. Look at this. This is makes you want to vomit. I think it's this one right here. All right, can you? I tried to share it. It doesn't.
Hold
it's
on.
Right there.
There you go.
All right. So here's what you need to know. If you look down here, they screwed up their little metric. This orange one should say 60 to 80, and then and then this should be the rest of it. But 90 to 99 percentile. So like the top 10 percentile in 2020, right? First quarter. So before COVID, really, they spent $6.2 trillion. Right? This second quarter of this year, we're at rounded up to 10 trillion. So you've had on a relative basis, an 80% increase in the dollars being spent by the top 10%. Okay. To, whether that's houses or cars or vacations or restaurants or just lifestyle, just whatever you're spending, right? Then look at the rest of us. Look at this. These lines are flat. As a matter of fact, if you don't count inflation, they're down, right? or if you count inflation, they're down. So as Taylor's very fond of saying in our seminars, we've all lost about 35% between the dollar falling and inflation that was actually presented by the government. We're down about 35% in purchasing power in 5 years. Yet everybody below the 90th percentile had about let's see, let me do the math real quick.
Carry the
so
two.
We're spending about 15% more dollars, but we have our dollars with 35% less as far. So everybody else has had a decline in the standard of living, and it's not small.
No.
And so what's going to happen, right? At least historically. Now, granted, we live in a different time, but I don't think I don't think we've gotten so advanced that we have now just made history obsolete. But in every other era, when the haves become so different from the have-nots eventually get real pissed and they grab pitchforks, and torches.
Well,
and I think we're lazy enough maybe not to do it quite that way, but we would be naive to think this is just going to go on fine.
Well, you see it in the popularity growing for like socialist style governments, that eat the rich and, tax the rich, and, people, as misguided as that, kind of philosophy is, that socialist, kind of, because it never works, but it shows you that is where, this new generation, their mentality is going, is they're sick of it because they don't see opportunity. They see no way out of, like they're never going to be able to buy a house. They're never going to be able to pay off their student loans. It's a feeling of helplessness. And when you're in that mindset, to them, anything's a possibility to get out of it. You back somebody into a corner, enough, doesn't matter who it is, they're going to, at some point, come out swinging. It's like that kid that got picked on in school. They'll get picked on for so long, and then at some point they're going to punch the bully in the mouth
or bring a gun. Right. So somebody made a comment in the chat, Satellink said no parties, no lobbies, which I totally understand the emotional vibe of that. I 100% agree with. The challenge with that is what I've discovered when talking to people. When I get these conversations, they kind of one-on-one, because believe it or not, it comes up quite a lot when you're doing a financial planning for stuff for people, because they start having to get into outlooks, which gets into politics, which gets into whole worldviews, is people tend to think of lobbies as other things. So, for example, the pharmaceutical lobby or the insurance lobby, and they kind of just say these things. But if they're teachers, which the largest lobby in the country is actually a teachers union, you're like, well, what about? Well, that's not a lobby. That's just us making sure that teachers, because we have a lot of voices that need to be heard because they're not paying attention to what's going on in the classroom. We're the ones in the know. We know what, And so people think of lobbies as this like corporate evil thing when it's other people's interests. But if there's no parties and no lobbies, we just voted somebody. It's like, hey, by the way, you're not allowed to go talk to your representative. I mean, that's all a lobby is an organized group of people talking to representatives.
Look at the bloat. I mean, look at the bloat of the education system. And, you just said that, and that's a good example, the teachers lobby. What have they done for teachers? I mean, me and Taylor, our dad, is a retired teacher. They make nothing. They have always made nothing. Their pay is not going up to match inflation or anything else. The requirements for them to keep their teaching certificate is ridiculous. And the only thing that grows is the bureaucracy in education. So, like kind of the head honchos and, the head offices, they get huge salaries, and that just continues to grow, where the teachers are making, 40, 50, 60 grand a year and barely getting by, and they don't get any supplies for the kids. A lot of them are like buying stuff out of their own pocket. So it's a perfect example of how the system doesn't work. The largest lobby in Washington can't even get the supplies and the teachers paid, but they can get, this massive, bloat in the administrative portion of it.
It's, I guess what I'm getting at is I think Sattlink's right. Has there ever in history been a corrupt government that's fixed itself? And I think, to your point, at least we all know, at least those of us that are Gen X or older from like our history books, what we went growing up, like we know that socialism's not going to work at least in a large economy that's not homogeneous. Like socialism works fine if you're Sweden because of a multitude of reasons.
The smaller the group, it's been shown in studies, the smaller the group, the better that type, like a hippie colony, where everybody cares about the other person.
Value and experience, like all that stuff. But my point is simply that the trap, though, is while it will not work long term because humans are still humans and corrupt, short term, if you get a shift in power, I mean, like I think I saw Damien, I don't know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure I saw something about he's going to start a UBI program of like $15,000 a year for like the homeless or the indigent in New York City. Like, so you do get a short term with the wave that gets those kinds of policies in, you get short term results. The fact that they're not going to work long term, if you think the game is rigged, if you sat there and say, hey, Jeff, we're going to play a game of Monopoly, and I think you're cheating as the banker, and then you go, well, you want to play the game of Monopoly by the rules, Jeff, because if we become a socialist monopoly, you're never going to have the same kind of success individually or corporately. But I'm sitting there going, but I'm not going to have success either way. So give me some money. And I think we're in much more danger of that than people realize, especially quite frankly, boomers.
Yeah.
They're just, for the most part, they're doing pretty good. And they're like, work for us.
Well, Taylor, closing thoughts. We're out of time. I know you gentlemen got to go. You got businesses to run.
Yeah. So closing thoughts are, this silver has actual value in the actual world. So it's like the price has to come up. It's not being produced enough. It's still way under what it should be at 100. So it's not, I know you look at the charts and go, oh my gosh, it's gone way up. Well, it's because the reality is that needs to be a lot higher than where it's at. You want to put a range in and kind of go, well, it needs to be around 150 an ounce to really handle. But ultimately, we're going to keep having these deficits. And if you believe the market actually goes off supply and demand, then silver's a good buy still.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think long term was a good buy.
Jeff, final thoughts?
I think he's right. I do think that we're going to see a good amount of volatility because it depends on how much tourists this brings in. So I wouldn't, if you're going to buy something and need to sell it in a month or two or three, I think you got to stay away. But I think long term, I agree that there's a lot of economic arguments behind. There's much more economic arguments behind silver than there are for gold. So I do like it from that perspective for sure.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's been good.
Well, gentlemen, as always, I always enjoy these Monday episodes. It's a great way to start the week and kind of get an idea of what's going on in the markets. But till next time, Veteran Crypto out.
See ya.
See ya.